For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. For his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world and the things that have been made. So they are without excuse. It is clear, we talked with the kids about this last week, when we look at creation, that it was created. That there is a God who created all things. There is no reason for any man to say that God does not exist. No one will have any excuse at the end to be able to say, well, as Bertrand Russell, who was a famous atheist, was once asked, if God is real and you appear before him, what is one question that you would ask him? And Bertrand Russell said, why did you take such great pains to remain so hidden? But no one will be able to ask that question at the end of all things, because it is clearly obvious that everything has been created by God, that God does exist, that it has a beginning, and all things were created through him. So no one will have any excuse at the end. Verse 21, for although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him, but they became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. I know people personally in my life who do not follow Jesus Christ, and the reason why they do not follow Christ has nothing to do with some great convincing argument that they heard about why God doesn't exist or why Jesus Christ is not the Son of God. Has nothing to do with that. They do not believe in God, and they do not follow Christ because they would rather have their sin, period. That's why people don't follow God. Because I would rather have this, and I know I would have to give this up. I had an agnostic friend of mine say to me, I can't see how I could become a Christian without giving up a major portion of my identity. And I said, yes, that's exactly right. You give up yourself and you are modeled in the image of Christ. A person who does not follow God doesn't follow God because they would rather have their sin. I like what I'm doing. I don't want to give myself to God. And continually throughout history, we're pointing the finger at God and trying to come up with reasons why we don't follow him that are his fault, which, by the way, Adam did that. Everybody thinks that they have an original argument, but Adam was the first one to blame God. At the fall of mankind, when we read about it in Genesis chapter 3, when God asked Adam, why you ate of the fruit of the tree that I told you not to eat from, what's Adam's response? The woman gave it to me? His response is, the woman that you put here with me gave me the fruit and I ate it. Pointing the finger right back at God. You're the one that made me this way. You put me in a situation where I could eat from the tree that you told me not to eat from. And everybody thinks that they've got an original argument when they come up with arguments about the fall of man as written about in Genesis chapter 3. Adam was the first one to do it. This is your fault. And continually we point the finger at God, thinking that we know better than he does. We talked more about that last week in God's address to Job. Who is this who darkens my counsel with words without knowledge? We all think that we know better than God, but a person who doesn't follow God is so self-absorbed that they refuse to acknowledge his existence, his power, his divinity.